Hello everyone, this is Linda with Linda's New Plants for You. If you have been wondering where I've been, I have been very, very ill. My doctor actually thinks that I had COVID, but that was without an actual test, so I'm not 100% sure. But I had every symptom, including I wasn't able to breathe. I was very, very sick, my friends. My husband and I actually contemplated whether or not I needed to go to the hospital, and while I probably or maybe would have benefited from being there and being on a respirator, I had breathing apparatus here in my home, and I opted for that because I have 3 people in my life that had COVID and went into the hospital and never returned. So I had to make a decision, and with my husband's input, we decided, unless it was to the point where I truly couldn't, I was either going to die or get on a machine, I was going to stay home and try and fight it out. And I'm very, very happy that I did that, because I had 2 rounds of very strong antibiotics. I had several different inhalers and things, and an expectorant to loosen up what was going on in my lungs. And the fever went away. I mean, all of the symptoms. I had every symptom of COVID, including, which is why I'm even bringing this up, because I hate to talk about my health. I really, really do. But I think it's important for me to share this and also to let you know where I've been. And so very quickly here, I developed a sty in my eye. I don't get styes. I have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I have been around them when they have contracted a sty through the daycare or school, you know, hugging on them and what have you through the years, and never ever, as contagious as those are supposed to be, I have never ever had a sty. So when I was looking up on the internet about, you know, what would the hospital be able to do for me that I can't do at home, one of the things that popped up a few times was the sty in the eye and how to treat that. And I have not heard anything about this on the news in the last, we're going on a year and a half that we've been talking about COVID. And I have yet to hear anyone mention that as one of the symptoms. So I just want to put that out there in case it might benefit someone. But anyway, to let you know, I am feeling really, really good. My breathing is still a little labored, but you know, I'm 67 years old. It's probably going to take a while to get my lung function back to where it was, which wasn't real great before I got sick. So, well, I'm just going to keep, praise God that I'm up on my feet. I'm walking. I'm functioning, and I actually, other than my breathing, I feel better than I have felt in a very long time. So I do believe that double round of antibiotics actually was working on something else. So don't know what, but anyways, I'm feeling pretty good. All right, now for the purpose of my video, here is my Kangaroo Paw Fern. Now, I have a few things to say about this plant. First thing I'm going to say is these aerial roots that you see here that grow down the sides of the pot are the only aerial roots that I actually get a kick out of. I kind of like them. Those of you that know me, they'll know that I get very creeped out by the aerial roots on my monstera. And I also came across a rabbit's foot fern at a store last year, and I almost bought it, but I just couldn't get past the paws that hung down the side of the pot, because to me they really truly looked like a rabbit's foot, and there was just something about that I just couldn't get past. So yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be able to own one of those, but I got the next best thing. I've got the Kangaroo Paw Fern. I did get a question from someone about a browning leaf, and I wanted to see a picture, but I don't believe that actually happened. So I'm going to try and address that here. I have a couple things going on here, and some you already know about. But the overall care of this plant, I have to tell you, I've done a lot of research in the past year or two since I've owned this plant, and one of the things that it talks about is high humidity, and it says it greatly benefits from high moisture and high humidity. Well, folks, I don't have high humidity in my house. You've heard me say that dozens of times, and as you can see, she is there's nothing lacking with this plant. She's gorgeous. She's growing like a weed. She continues to grow like a weed. Now, I did have a problem with her with the thrips, so I lost a few leaves, so she's not even as full as she normally is because of that. But in the meantime, it also says that it does well in temperatures from 60 to 90. Well, my goodness, that's a pretty big range, so I have to take that to mean she will do well in anybody's home, unless you keep your home colder than 50. I mean 60, and I guess some people might, but I don't know of anyone. So it also talks about green, dark green, leathery leaves. Most of mine are. I don't know if you can get that through the camera. And I've noticed with other people's videos too that when they start moving the foliage around, you can see the green. Otherwise, sometimes plants look yellow. And I'm sure that has something to do with the way our lighting is set up on our camera, but I am truly not a camera person. I wouldn't have a clue how to even adjust that. But I can tell you that these leaves are pretty dark green, and they're very, very, very healthy. They're almost like, they almost feel like rubber. Now, they also talked about dormancy, and they said it can go dormant. And yes, I know that they can. It happened to me once. I thought it was dying. But it hasn't happened since. And it also says that it does not grow during the winter. Well, I got most of this growth during winter months of last year. So, not this last winter, the winter before. So, I don't know about that. I think maybe they might be referring to when you have it outside. That's a possibility. But indoors, I haven't experienced that recently. One of the things that I do want to mention, though, is you do want to cut down on the watering a little bit in the wintertime. She's not growing near as fast as she does during the growing season, but still she's growing. So I continue to water and feed her a little less than I do in the summer, but not much. I go by how she feels. If her soil feels dry, she gets watered. And when I water her very thoroughly, and then I allow her to get kind of on the dry side, not completely dried out, but kind of on the dry side, and then I give her a good watering. It also says it doesn't do well in southern exposure or full sun. I've got this plant in a southern window. Now she is in the middle of two windows that there's about an 8 or 10 inch wood piece trim that she's in front of. So I guess you could say she's not directly in the window, but she gets full sun all morning, all afternoon, and with the exception of that piece of wood when the sun gets behind it. So maybe that's enough to save it, I don't know. But she's been in when I had her in a west window, like it suggests through my research, that is when she went dormant. That's the winter that I almost lost her. So I didn't put her back there. I keep her in the southern window, and she's doing great. I don't spray her. I don't do anything special. She's in my normal potting mixture, which is just, potting soil and perlite. About 2/3 potting soil, 1/3 part perlite. So she has good drainage. What else do you need to know? Let me look the name because I want to give you the botanical name. And I did pull it up here so I'd have it in front of me so I don't mess it up. It is called the Microsorum Diversifolium, and I will put that on the screen for anyone who wishes to know the exact botanical name. But one of the other things that I wanted to talk about here is where it comes from. It comes from Australia, and it can grow on the ground. It can also grow in the crooks of trees, so it can be an epiphyte. It can be either or, and I don't know what determines where or why that happens, but that's what the research says. I also found in places where they strongly recommend distilled water, and I have to tell you that since I've been using distilled water on her, I don't have the issues I had when I was using tap water. And that's becoming more of a problem because I'm using more and more distilled water, and my husband has to haul that, from the store to his truck, from the truck in the house. That's a lot of work, extra work for him to go through. But for now, it's working, and he's not complaining. He doesn't seem to mind. And I try to use my tap water on as many plants as I can, where I know that it's not going to harm them, and I only use distilled on the ones that I really, really feel like I need to, and this is one of them. So if you're having trouble with this plant and you want to try distilled water, that might be an option to give it a try. I also wanted to show you this. I have some leaves here that I'm going to be cutting off. This, I believe, was thrips damage. This, one of the things thrips does is it sucks the juice out of the plant. It also leaves yellow rings with brown spots, and on this plant, you can see that there. Normally those particular symptoms are much larger, but because these leaves are so small, I believe that's why this is true. I believe this is thrips damage. It's been there for a long time as well. So I'm going to be cutting that off. I got a couple other little tiny spots where it looks like that happened. But again, I think I've gotten rid of the problem finally, so hopefully this won't come back. Now I do have one on here that, where did it go? Oh, here. This is different. This is most likely a watering problem, and you can see the difference here between that and the one I just showed you. This is an overall browning of the leaves. This can be due to underwatering or overwatering. And I thought I had one more of those. Well, I can't find it right now, but generally, if you're going to have sunburn, it can be anywhere. It doesn't, at least in my experience, it's almost never just on the tips. When I see sunburn on a plant, it's usually throughout the leaf or in different parts of the leaf, but this is all on the edges. and it's a fading of the leaf with some brown and some crispiness going on here. So I do believe this is from watering. And what happens when I have big plants like this, sometimes I have a hard time getting the watering can up in there. And what will happen is I'll miss part of it. I'm putting this over my head and I'm trying to reach in the pot to water, and maybe I didn't get the whole pot, you see? So if that's the case, there is a possibility that I missed the one root or set of roots that's feeding this part of the plant. And a good way to check that is to see where it's connected. And you can see here, the rest of the leaves that are connected to this particular vine are fine. So, not too sure why that one was as bad as it was. But here I can see a little thrips damage on here too. So, you know, and on this one too, you can see how it's deformed here. It's another thing that they do. Now, again, I haven't seen any active signs of them for a while, so I really thought I was done with that, but the ones that have had damage, I do continue to treat. The ones that I know for sure had them, just because to be on the safe side. Another sign here is I'm getting very slow growth. It's coming, but it's very slow. I've got a lot of these going on. This is a new shoot with a new leaf on the end. So that is a good sign. But I don't like that it's taking so long to open. So I'm going to give this one more spray with my Jack's Dead Bug, and I'm going to put a few more granules in the soil here, and hopefully that'll take care of it. I wanted to mention too, someone had left a message in the comment section that when she has, she or he, I believe it was a she, has bug problems, she puts ammonia in the sink. And I believe she said she sets the plants around them. So I did respond, and I did tell her I was going to check that out. I haven't had a chance yet, obviously, with so much going on here. But if anybody else has had any luck with that, please let me know. Although it's not something I would be trying right now, because I couldn't imagine being around an open bottle of ammonia right now with my issues. So be very careful with that if you decide to go with that method, because you can harm your lungs with ammonia. Many people have ended up in emergency rooms because they don't understand the you know, how that works, and there are people who have they mix ammonia with bleach, and that's like a bomb going off. Never ever do that. It causes a toxic poison. It's terrible. So be careful. But as far as putting ammonia in a sink, I guess if you can handle it, I don't know, I would research it very thoroughly, and then maybe that would work for you. Again, as an organic method, I know that a lot of you don't like using the chemicals that I use, and believe me, plant friends, I don't like it either. I truly don't. But I have found it pretty much necessary to save my plant collection. And I'm not happy with controlling certain insects. I want them gone, because as long as they're here, then I still have the problem of them getting out of hand, and I just can't have that. So, oh, I just felt something break. That must have been an older stem. But anyways, yeah, that's about all I can think of to tell you about her. If you go back to my old, I've got an old video of my Kangaroo Paw where she was almost dead, and I got so excited when I saw a new leaf poking up, just a tiny little leaf poking up, and I thought, oh my goodness, she's coming back to life. She's gonna live. And sure enough, she not only came back to life, but with a vengeance. She's just gorgeous. So at the end, I'm going to hang her back up, and I'll take another little shot of her so you can see. And in the meantime, I'm going to cut these dead pieces off of here, and then hang her back up and give her a little spray. And that's about it, I guess. She's in a pretty big pot, so I won't be repotting her anytime soon. I guess that's it. Oh, and propagation. You can propagate her by laying this on the top of the soil. You see these little bumps on there? Those are seeds. And they will grow if you, in fact, I think I would try the sphagnum moth method before I would try the soil. That seems to be working better these days than the soil propagation. Or they can be propagated by division. They won't, as far as I know, they will not propagate from a stem. There's nothing there to propagate. There's no node. There's nothing for them to send roots out from. But I have researched and found that you can propagate from the leaves themselves. Now, not all the leaves have those on them, but the ones that do, you are certainly able to do that with. So, I hope that answers your question. And once again, if you do have browning leaves, and I don't mean this kind, I mean the other one I showed you, where the leaf is limp and either light brown or dark brown, or if it's crispy, it's almost always a watering issue. So it could be sunburn, but I would be willing to bet it's probably water, either lack of or too much. On my plants, a browning leaf would be a lack of water because I very rarely overwater a plant. I don't say never because it has happened where I forgot and watered something that I had just watered, and right after I put the water in there, it was like, oh man, I forgot. I didn't want to do that. So it does happen, but for me, it's the underwatering is usually the culprit. So I hope that helps you all. I'm gonna call it a day here. I'm gonna cut these off and stick her back in the window, and then I'll show you where she lives in my home. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you all have a good day. Today's Wednesday. I've got a few more things that I want to get recorded for you all, and so I'll be back as soon as I can. In the meantime, I hope you all stay healthy. Please, please stay healthy. We're coming to the end of this nonsense now, and hopefully we can eradicate it once and for all. Okay, folks. Have a good day. And there she is. That's where she lives happily ever after.